Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody. I am Donna Schwenk, and I'm the author and founder of Cultured Food for Life. And this is the place where you come to get cultured and to understand why you should get cultured. We help restore people's bodies from the inside out, and that starts with trillions of invisible, unseen microbes that call you their home. You carry them everywhere you go, and they know you, but you don't know them. And I love to talk about them. These little microbes work hard for me all day long, and they work hard for you too. They help you breathe. They help you digest your food, make vitamins, control your moods and food cravings. And I am their voice, and I love them because they help set me free. They showed me who I was, and not only did they repair my body, they helped me connect to my spirit and my passion, and they helped unlock things in my life that I didn't even know were there that I wanted to do. They are my little angels and the answers to my prayer. And so little did I know I'd be sharing this with thousands of other people. I was really planning on keeping this a secret and not telling anybody because people made fun of me and said that I was weird and that I had a food cult and that I did stuff on my counters that looked like science projects, and it was scary. But these foods had made me well, and I knew that, and I knew something they didn't know. So I quietly kept culturing in my kitchen, and eventually all those people came to understand what I had found. Then these foods changed my life, and they changed theirs too. So here I am taking this little life journey surrounded by trillions of helpers that I never knew were there. And you, my friends, are made up mostly of these microbes. Trillions of microbes that outnumbered the cells in your body 10 to 1. But they don't get a lot of recognition. They mostly get ignored until disease sets in. And then like most people, they go after them with antibiotics and never realizing that there is a way to harness their power and transform your life. It really is. They're not, we mostly think of bacteria as being bad, but I am here to tell you that the power of microbes to change you is tremendous because 99% of the time, all the microbes you have are good or harmless. Only when things get out of control do we get into problems. And if you feed these little guys, they will take care of you. They will take care of you emotionally, physically, and it is awesome. It's like the coolest thing ever. And I never knew they were there. I've been living this way for 15 years, and I want to tell you, I never looked back. And today I want to help you understand all that they can do. Most people are really intimidated by this, but that's why I'm here. Because I can set your mind at ease and make this easy because it's not hard, guys. It's just new. And I don't do hard stuff. And when I first started out, I did it because it was easy, because I didn't have any energy and I didn't feel good and I wasn't going to do something hard and complicated because I was just barely making it through my life. And when I found out how easy this was and it changed me so rapidly and my family, I couldn't keep it to myself anymore because it made me well. And I wanted to help other people find that too because they were hurting. And I remember how horrible that was. You know, one of the things that I found out about kefir was I didn't know how bad I felt till I felt good. And that was an amazing thing for me that I could feel that good all the time. I just blew my mind because I had gotten so accustomed to feeling bad. I thought that was normal. It's not normal. Your body is designed to feel really good. It's cool. And when I discovered that, it blew my mind. I was never going back. And people could tell me I had a crazy food cult because I was making cultured foods. They said I was a wackadoo. And honestly, I just didn't care because my own body had helped show me the way. And once you've experienced that, once you find out for yourself what these foods can do and how good you can feel, nobody can change your mind about that because you've lived it. because you're living and breathing it and you've experienced it. And that is the best teacher of all. I can sit here and talk all day long, but until you've experienced it, you won't believe me because you need to live it. And once you live it, it just radiates out from you. You can't, I tried to keep it quiet. I wasn't going to tell anybody because I thought they would, they all thought I was crazy. But eventually I couldn't keep it to myself because people were suffering and my friends' kids were sick, and I knew it would help them. I didn't know if they would listen, and lo and behold, they did. And they joined me, and they spread it to others, and it just grew, and it changed everything. It changed everything for me, not just my health, but it became my life's passion. I fell in love with these little minions that take care of me every day, and I just wanted to tell everybody. And it's really that simple. Once you live health, and especially if you've gone from despair and disease to feeling healthy, you can't keep it to yourself. Even if you don't say anything, people notice. And that's what I'm here to tell you today, that you have a few trillion helpers that are just ready to help you at all times and already are helping you. You're just not aware of it. So we're going to talk about kefir versus yogurt today. And what is the difference between kefir and yogurt, and which is better? Okay, so kefir is by far superior, but yogurt has benefits too, and I love yogurt. And I once read that yogurt is kind of like a fine wine, and kefir is more like a champagne. It has more bubbliness, it has kind of more pizzazz. Not a lot, but it does have more carbonation a little bit. And to state it simply, yogurt felt like the first learning step for me in cultured food. It was one of the first cultured foods I'd had. And when I was a little girl, my dad would take me to food stores. My dad was a foodie like me. And I think that's the reason I like food, is because of my dad. And there were two stores that were our favorites. And as a little girl, it had a huge impact on my life. And I was pretty young. I grew up in Laurel, Maryland, and we had a big shopping mall there. And there was a small section at the top of the mall. And on one side of the mall was a cheese shop. And then the store right across the corridor from it was a health food store. And my dad would take me to this cheese store, and he would prop me up on these big barrels, and so that I could see all the cheeses, because I thought it was super cool. And the store owners would just get a kick out of me, and they would give me all kinds of sample because they couldn't believe this little girl would eat all these different types of cheeses, because some of them were strong tasting. And some of them were homemade cheeses, and they were good, because cheese is a cultured food too. It's cultured a lot longer than most foods, but it is actually a very good cultured food. And a lot of these were raw milk cheeses, and I had a blast discovering them. And as soon as we would leave the cheese store, my dad would take me across the corridor to the health food store. Now, the owners of this health food store, they were something else. They looked 30 years younger than they were, and I think they were in their 60s. But to this day, and I was little when I went over there, I can remember, oh man, they just were full of life, and they looked healthy, and they were happy, and they just loved me, and they would pick me up and carry me around the store. My dad shopped, and they would give me this incredibly delicious homemade frozen yogurt that they had in their store. And I had never had frozen yogurt, but boy, I loved this. And this was back, I think this was back in the 60s, 1960, probably 68, 67. And frozen yogurt wasn't a big thing then. But boy, I loved that. And I thought this store had a funny smell to it because it was a health food store. You know how they kind of smell like vitamins and minerals and things like that. And boy, I loved that. I loved their homemade granolas and their frozen yogurt and all the food that I had never seen anywhere else. And I loved the people. And it really placed a strong foundation for my young life, and creating something years down the road would become my life's passion, cultured foods. And I always loved eating any kind of yogurt that they had, because they had some really good kinds at the store. And I loved to break the curd with my spoon as I scooped it out of their little containers. But then years down the road as an adult, and actually I was in my 40s, I found kefir. And I found kefir when I needed it the most. It was something that I really, really needed. And I actually always think that kefir found me. That's what I think. I think kefir found me when I needed it. And kefir is a traditional fermented dairy food that can be made with non-dairy milks too. And when I say that, I've got 16 different types of non-dairy kefirs on my website because I want everybody to be able to make it. And so we worked a long time trying to figure out how to make non-dairy kefirs, and we got really good at it. And if you'd like to check out my site, I have a really good recipe that's new, and it makes kefir thick like yogurt. It's a special type of non-dairy milk you use, and boy, is it good. And I've been making it a lot lately. And this is a new thing that I have, and you can go to my website at culturedfoodlife.com and look for kefir, non-dairy kefir that tastes like Greek yogurt, and you'll love it. You'll love that flavor. I encourage you to try it because it is delicious. Kefir is the Turkish word kefir is derived from a word that translates into good feeling. And boy, I've lived that, so I believe that. Kefir is traditionally made with kefir grains, but they're really not grains at all. They're kind of like little spongy balls or look like cauliflower. And they're really a combination of bacteria, good bacteria and good yeast, and which really are combined in these little spongy little balls. And they're fantastic because they can live forever. I've had my kefir grains for 15 years, and they still keep making kefir, and they reproduce themselves, and they keep making more. And I love that. I love that there's something that I have that's sustainable, that I can, constantly reproduces itself. And scientists have tried to reproduce them and they can't. And I just love that. I love that they can't mess them up and try to reproduce them. But they've been around for thousands of years. It goes way back to the time of, Abraham, patriarch. They found some scrolls in Turkey and he credits them with his long life. And so it's been around for a very, very long time. And they're making all the difference in my life. And I'm using the same kefir grains I got the first time I got them, which was 15 years ago. So I think that's another plus about these wonderful kefir grains because they last forever if you take care of them. They're kind of like a pet, but they do last forever. The beneficial bacteria and yeast feed on the milk sugars, and they grow within the matrix of the dairy, and they eat up all that lactose in the milk. And the good bacteria also pre-digest those proteins, the milk proteins, making milk kefir a very nutrient-dense and easy to assimilate food. And it does this in goat's milk. It also does this in non-dairy milk too. And while the word yeast may scare people, beneficial yeast can be just as valuable as beneficial bacteria in healing the ecosystem. They can be probiotic too. We have a lot of probiotic yeast in kefir. And we need those desperately to help balance out the harmful bacteria and yeast that tend to want to thrive and grow in us when we don't eat properly. And so having good ones is really, really important. When you make yogurt, you heat the milk and it's no longer raw. So that means the enzymes which help you digest the dairy are no longer intact in yogurt. Heat also denatures or changes the structure of milk proteins. And you can make kefir with raw milk, leaving the enzymes intact along with B and C vitamins, although you don't do that with yogurt. You have to heat it usually to get the yogurt to thicken properly and get it to work. And today, many of the foods we eat are preserved through pasteurization or processing or homogenation, and they use heat from outside sources to kill off the live cultures that are in the milk. But they also strip the food of many helpful bacteria and nutrients. And for yogurt, the live flora, the live culture is then added back in after it's been heated. But see, you don't really do that with kefir. Kefir is fermented, and that means preserving the milk with the help of heat generated by the food itself, by the kefir itself, and the beneficial flora. And it's really cool when you study fermentation. Fermentation, when you add a culture to your food, it generally heats up the food to a certain amount of degrees, and that's what ferments it. It happens in cocoa beans. I've seen it do it in a lot of different types of like misos. The food gets raises in temperature because there's so many good bacteria in it that it naturally does this. Whereas in yogurt, you don't have as many beneficial bacteria in it. So the milk needs to be kept at a certain temperature to culture properly, where you never have to worry about that with kefir. You can make kefir with milk that has been heated or pasteurized, or with nut milk, and then you add a live culture in, and it can culture at room temperature. Almost yogurts have to be heated and kept at 100 degrees to culture properly. But traditionally, kefir was made with raw milks and all kinds of raw milks. And you don't have to make it today with that. You're going to really change it when you add kefir to any kind of milk, whether it's raw or pasteurized. Because milk has gotten a really bad rap because it's been so changed, and they've just done so much to it. They've pasteurized it, homogenized it. The cows are given tons of antibiotics, and it makes milk a mess. And but when you add kefir back to milk, it becomes a living food again, and it really becomes a different food because it adds back in vitamin C and B vitamins that are normally present in raw milk, but they've been heated, and so those vitamins have been destroyed. But then you add enzymes back in when you add kefir, and you add all these beneficial bacteria and yeast, and they're all in there. These enzymes are added back that you need to digest it. And so many people can't digest milk today because they're missing the enzymes because the milk is pasteurized and homogenized and just destroyed. But when you add kefir to it, you completely transform it, and it works really, really well. And goat's kefir is fantastic made into kefir. It doesn't get thick like cow's milk, but it does get creamy. And goat's milk has a prebiotic in it that makes the good bacteria grow even more so than regular milk. And it's also is less allergic for people. It has, it just has so many benefits to it. I actually have a bunch of information on this on my Body Pro membership site on my website that tells people the benefits to it, because it was the thing I used in the beginning was goat's milk kefir that really helped me and my family so much to heal our bodies. But all of the kefir are good, even the non-dairies and the coconut milk. We've just seen so many people heal from them that I really encourage you to try whichever one you feel most comfortable with. For my own experimentation, I found kefir to be great for certain afflictions. And I noticed when I first started making kefir, and I think I tried this at least on 10 different occasions, I would switch from eating kefir to yogurt. And every time I did, I would experience joint pain in my right knee. But as soon as I would switch back to kefir, within 2 days, the pain would go away. So I realized it has something in the kefir. I think it's because it had over 50 plus good bacteria in it, while yogurt has 3 to 10. And kefir kind of acts like a SWAT team inside the colon, and attaches itself to the colon and pushes away other harmful substances. And it literally lives inside of you, finds a place to live. And it's been said that certain strains of the bacteria cannot be killed by antibiotics because it's so strong. And so, years down the road, my joint pain completely healed, and I live pain-free because whatever was bothering me eventually, and this is my belief, I believe kefir took care of it and healed me, because it was pretty bad. And I just kept having it every day, and eventually it just all went away. It's kind of cool. I heard someone say once the body starts to heal, it wants to heal everything. And I agree with that, because so many things down through my life have gotten better and better, seasonal allergies, things that I had for years and years, like 40 years. Thing is, not only did my joint pain heal, but it also worked on my blood pressure. It has an enzyme abundant in kefir that works like an ACE inhibitor drug out of 1 out of 3 people. So it naturally lowered my blood pressure. But these ailments that I'd had for years and years all started going away one by one. And it was an amazing thing to behold, because I didn't think food could do that. I didn't think that, I knew it was good for me, but I didn't think it would help with seasonal allergies. And I didn't think it would help with moods or anxiety. I didn't know that until I experienced it myself. And that's something that you need to experience for yourself, because every day I get letters and emails from people and they share with me that what kefir has done. And guys, it's quite amazing. And I'm like, I didn't know that it could help with that. I didn't know it could help with people who had hepatitis C or people who had renal problems. And I didn't know it would help with syphilis. I didn't know it would help with psoriasis. I didn't know it would help with asthma. And the list just kept growing and growing and growing. And what was exciting to me is that people were finding this out for themselves. I didn't have to convince them. They lived it and experienced that. And because they did, nobody could tell them otherwise, because they knew. You know, most people, I've seen so many people who are lactose intolerant, and they all seem to do fine on kefir. Kefir eats 99% of all the lactose in the milk. And that's why it tastes tart and sour, because all the milk sugars are gone. And so when the milk, that's what's in milk that makes it have a little sweet taste, and that's why yogurt tastes tart. Any kind of these cultured foods taste sour, and that's because the bacteria is eating all the sugars out of these foods and giving it that tart taste. So it's a wonderful food. I've seen a lot of people who have really had extreme lactose intolerance, and they do absolutely fine on kefir. It was amazing. I had a video guy that used to do videos for me. His son was really struggled for, a long time in lactose problems, severe lactose problems. And he just was thrilled that his son could have kefir, and because they made kefir cheese and things like that, because the little boy could never have cheese, but he could have kefir cheese. So it was like a blessing, because he could have food again that he hadn't been able to have. And I remember the first time he put kefir cheese on his tacos, he was so excited because he loved that flavor, and he was able to eat it and did so well with it and didn't have the problems that he'd had with other foods. Kefir is such a nutrient-dense food. It fills you up. It keeps you from getting that empty stomach feeling like you get after you eat some processed starchy snack. And it satisfies you. It can have as much as 35% protein, B, C, K, and phosphorus. And phosphorus will help you digest fats and carbohydrates, and it uses that as energy. So the good gut flora in kefir also adds to your digestive enzymes, because we all need them. And as we get older, we don't make those as easily. And so it will help you break down the foods that you eat with it, and helps you to use the nutrients more efficiently, and makes you feel nourished and satisfied, and gives you a lot of energy. And believe me, it really does. And this was something we found with my daughter when Macy, when she was 16, she got food allergies. This is when I first found cultured foods. And we would give her a cultured food with every meal she ate. And what we found was it helped her digest the other foods that she was eating along with the cultured food. Like if she was eating, some kind of meal and she'd have kefir with it, or it would help her digest those and get nutrients from those foods that otherwise her body couldn't break down, because kefir's pre-digested. It helps you to absorb the most bang for your buck. And I loved that about kefir, because a lot of foods don't make you feel nourished and satisfied like kefir does. And it's one of the reasons that I go long periods after I have kefir, because I feel really nourished. Your cells are looking for those nutrients, and when they get them, they make you feel nourished, and you don't want to eat as much. And they say that, a lot of the children that are struggling with obesity are because they're eating foods that don't have nutrients in them. And so they're not getting what they need. So their body's creating all this hunger, trying to get nutrients from food, because they're eating a lot of the junk foods and processed foods. And so then they're getting overweight because they're not getting what they need, and they're overeating. And kefir is wonderful. It's so nutrient dense. You're going to love it. The bottom line about kefir is it's 50 plus probiotics, and yogurt only has 3 to 7. Now, I love yogurt, and you can still eat yogurt. I think it's great, but kefir is going to do stuff for you that yogurt cannot do, just like it did for me. And you can't find any other food anywhere that has this many probiotics in it. And if you really want to change yourself from the inside out, then you really need to try some kefir. You can make it dairy or non-dairy, and it really is its own factory that transforms the medium you put it in, And all it does is sit on your counter with no heat required, just a jar and a lid, and 24 hours. That's it. It reproduces itself, and you can make more, and it just keeps, you can keep using it again and again to make more, so it's sustainable. It has more bang for your buck than any fruit on the planet, and I just absolutely love it, guys. It can make such a difference for you. It is my friend. It has helped me through a myriad of problems, ranging from high blood pressure to diabetes to anxiety, joint pain, and hormonal problems. And it's helped me get through some crises nothing else would. There is nothing like it in my life. It's my go-to food, and I hope someday there will be kefir on every counter because it's just absolute best. So I encourage you to give it a try and make it a part of your life and just see. It was the one food that changed my whole life. It was the beginning for me, and it wasn't very much work, and it came to me when I needed it, and it continues to help me to this day, and that's why I continue to take it, because without it, I have found that I struggle, and it's fantastic food. It's fun to make. I have so many delicious recipes. And I've got a new ebook coming out for Thanksgiving. I've got all kinds of recipes that you can make for Thanksgiving, and lots of yummy ones that, oh gosh, you got to try them because you won't be missing anything by trying these recipes. You're not going to be missing the other foods that don't fill you up and aren't nutrient dense and don't help your body to stay healthy. Kefir is the best. And continue to have your yogurt if you'd like to, but don't forget kefir made all the difference for me, and I think it can make that difference for you.